Lando Norris has been named McLaren F1's official test and reserve driver for the 2018 Formula One season, the team announced Monday. Norris won the prestigious McLaren Autosport BRDC Young Driver Award last December, then completed his first official F1 test with the team's Honda-powered MCL32 at the Hungaroring in August. He was second on the timesheets behind Sebastian Vettel. The soon-to-be 18-year-old Englishman won the FIA F3 European Championship this year and is also confirmed alongside Fernando Alonso and Phil Hansen in one of United Autosports Ligier JSP 217 Gibsons at next year's Rolex 24 at Daytona. Beyond his reserve program, Norris' racing program for 2018 is in the process of being finalized. Like Stoffel Vandoorne, it could be in Japan in Super Formula or in Formula 2. No words can fully describe my feelings to be given this amazing opportunity by McLaren, Norris said. My first introduction to the McLaren brand came with winning the McLaren Autosport BRDC Young Driver Award last December, and then within 2 months, I was selected onto its McLaren Young Driver program. Both have been an incredible experience. But to now get the chance as an official test and reserve driver in 2018 is another vital step towards my goal of one day racing in F1. It's also a fantastic opportunity to become further integrated within the McLaren family, and that starts next week with a tire test at Interlagos. I'll continue to work hard and my aim is to broaden my skills. I have 2 excellent tutors in Fernando Alonso and Stoffel Vandoorne, and the intention is to help with the team's efforts to get back to the front. My management team is working hard to finalize my own racing program for 2018, which will be either Super Formula in Japan or Formula 2. In terms of Formula 3, I will sign off from this category in Macau the weekend after next. Zak Brown, McLaren Technology Group Executive Director, added his summer test for McLaren was also remarkably impressive, and was further proof that he is ready to step up and take on a role of this size, scope and responsibility. At McLaren, we are all extremely keen to help him achieve his goal of racing in Formula One. Eric Boulier, McLaren Racing Director, said we feel it's very important to have a fully enrolled test and reserve driver within the team. Lando will attend Grand Prix and become a fully integrated member of the team. Lando is somebody who arrives with a very high level of ability, ambition and application. It is our job to develop and fine-tune his focus as we increase his understanding of how a Formula One team operates, and how a modern Grand Prix car works. There will be plenty of opportunity to observe, learn and participate throughout 2018, and we want to make sure Lando is fully prepared, if needed, to step into Fernando or Stoffel's shoes at a moment's notice. Follow at Tony DeZinno. In the 68-year history of Formula One since 1950, only 4 countries have had representatives on the grid for at least 60 of those 68 years. The United Kingdom has had one all 68, the only country to do so, while Germany 64, France 63 and Italy 62 are next. A great overall grid, via the F1 Reddit page, is linked here. Meanwhile, the country that leads the way among all nations outside Europe, and 5th overall, is Brazil with 53 years represented on the grid. Brazil has had at least one driver on the grid since 1970, with 1969 the last year there wasn't a Brazilian racing in the sport. That 48-year active streak is second only to the UK among all nations. Felipe Massa's retirement in 2 races, which should be for real this time, will leave a gap to the next Brazilian driver, and it remains to be seen who will take up that mantle for the country that has given so much to the sport. The country has provided 8 total world championships, 3rd all-time only behind the UK 17 and Germany 12. The late Ayrton Senna won 3 titles, as did Nelson Piquet, with Emerson Fittipaldi winning 2. Massa's famous last lap loss of the title at the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix despite winning that race stands as the closest a Brazilian has come to matching the 3 legends from the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s as a champion. Of course, Massa and Rubens Barrichello enjoyed long careers of their own, each sort of taking up the mantle as the next primary Brazilian in the sport. Barrichello was thrust into carrying the torch after Senna's passing in 1994, and then Massa flew the flag following Barrichello's departure at the end of 2011. Fittingly, both have 11 career wins, Massa in 267 starts, 270 entries over his career that spanned from 2002 through 2017, off in 2003, while Barrichello is F1's all-time starts leader with 322 and 326 entries from 1993 through 2011. The best hypothetical candidate would have been Massa's similarly named countryman Felipe Nasser, but he faded out of F1 after a pair of tough seasons with Sauber in 2015 and 2016. He will now race full-time in North America next year, with the number 31 Whelen Engineering Racing Team in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Options do exist to take the mantle after Massa, but aren't on the immediate horizon for 2018. Pietro Fittipaldi might be the best hope, the grandson of two-time world champion Emerson, with his success in the World Series Formula VA 3.5 championship with Lotus coming only a few years after ending his NASCAR hopes. The 21-year-old, who was actually born in Miami, holds a 10-point lead over Russian driver Matevos Isakyan before that series finale in Bahrain in 2 weeks' time alongside the FIA World Endurance Championship. The younger Fittipaldi has 6 wins from 16 starts this year and could follow Emerson, Wilson and Christian as Fittipaldi F1 racers if he makes it, but he seems at least 2 years away at best. The only active Brazilian in Formula 2 is Sergio Sete Câmara, who completes his first season in the series this year. He ranks 12th in points, driving for MP Motorsport, with 1 sprint race win at Spa-Francorchamps. Sete Câmara has tested an F1 car, with Scuderia Toro Rosso in 2016, but was dropped from Red Bull's junior team after 2016. GP3 is also short on Brazilian drivers. The only active one there is 20-year-old Bruno Baptista, but his best finish is only 10th on 2 occasions. He ranks 19th in points, last among any who have scored this year. Nelson Piquet's son Pedro Piquet, the half-brother of Nelson Piquet Jr., raced this year in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. The 19-year-old finished 14th in points with a best finish of 2nd at the Norris Ring. That sort of result doesn't scream a Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon or Lance Stroll, in terms of leaping from F3 to F1. Like Italy before it, Brazil faces a potential drought on the F1 grid for at least 2018 and potentially years to come if none of these drivers can work their way into the F1 arena, likely as test or development drivers or via junior programs. Italy, like Brazil, put a driver on the grid from 1970 onwards, but saw its representation fall off after 2011 at the end of Jarno Trulli's career. It was only this year, when Antonio Giovinazzi made 2 starts with Sauber filling in for Pascal Wehrlein to kick off the year, that Italy was back represented behind the wheel. Brazil now faces a similar shortfall and without a star with which to welcome home next year. It'll be interesting to see if there's any adverse effect among Brazilian interest and as the Brazilian Grand Prix in years to come. Follow at Tony DeZeno.